Hey everyone, welcome back to DVD Crafts with Gabriel. Today I'm going to be working on Mega Man. Now, I'm not actually going to be working on Mega Man. However, if you see here, he is small. And by small I mean quite small. And by quite small, I mean he's pretty freaking tiny. Just look at him. He's adorable. And because he's so tiny, I find myself constantly misplacing him. So, to avoid that, I'm going to make him a tiny display stand. And to do that, I'm going to use some of this styrofoam that I had left over from my furniture set. I'm only going to use this corner here. There's no need giving him such a large display stand. So to do this, I'm going to use some of the styrofoam like I said, and for the floor and walls surrounding the foam and hiding the foam's texture, I'll be using 0.040 polystyrene. In addition to that, I will also be making a slot on the top of the display stand that will house a Game Boy cartridge of the same character. I'm going to have it catty-cornered here in the back, and it's going to turn out pretty well, I hope. With that, I'm going to glue the floor down to the foam base and let that dry overnight. Now that it is completely dry, I'm going to get started on the slot for the game cartridge. Again, I believe I used 040 polystyrene here, but I'm having trouble remembering. So I'll cut out the sections I need, sand them down, and glue them into place using plastic cement. And before I do that, I just want to show you really quick what those sheets of polystyrene look like. Now, the big piece is going to be up against the back side of the cartridge on the back end of the base display stand, with the smaller piece up in front to hold it in place. So that way the cartridge doesn't tip over or fall when the stand gets bumped or moved. Now, when it comes to gluing the walls to the foam, I simply used Elmer's glue. I couldn't find foam-safe super glue at any of my local hobby stores or hardware stores. However, the Elmer's glue did just fine. I also didn't cut the lengths of the polystyrene to be perfect. However, I don't want or need the stand to be perfect, just good enough for my purposes. Just remember that when you do use the Elmer's glue in place of the foam safe super glue, that you still have to let it dry for about 24 hours. And now that all four sides are in place, it's time to move on to painting. Now when it comes to painting, because there is a gap between the walls and the flooring, I didn't use my traditional rattle can primer. Instead, I went ahead and primed the base with my airbrush simply because the propellant in my rattle can primer would have disintegrated the foam through the gaps in the plastic. And to do that, I simply just used gray paint. So I'm going to go ahead and prime that real quick, and I will be right back. Now here I just went ahead and used generic black acrylic paint from my local Walmart to lay down the base coat of the, well, base. Once that had time to dry, I used Tamiya blue to line all the edges and give a nice contrast between the flat black and the gloss black. Now it was while I was painting this blue lining that I realized that I was not getting the contrast that I wanted. So I tossed that whole idea out the window, and instead I went ahead and dry brushed some of this blue here and there all over the base, making sure that there was a nice contrast between heavy dry brushing and light dry brushing. I also decided to add some Tamiya titanium silver onto the base to give it a little more pop, as well as to give it a nice worn metallic feel, almost as if the matte black was the true primer of this metal flooring and the blue was the base coat that was getting slowly scratched away from the surface. Once I was done with the painting, I ended up making Mega Man's logo off camera out of sheets of polystyrene varying in thicknesses, and I glued it to the surface of the base using contact cement. And with that, we're at the end. Thank you all for watching. This was a nice project for me to work on. It was a good and quick way for me to keep my hands dirty and stay occupied between classes and the day-to-day. If you would, please leave a comment down below, whether it's positive or negative. Any feedback is good feedback. Maybe hit that like button or even the dislike button. And if you feel so inclined, hit that subscribe. I'll be posting videos as often as I can, and it won't be just display stands but also figure customization and full-on diorama making. I thank you all again for watching. Wherever you are in the world, have an amazing day, and I'll see you on the next one.